History books paint him as a flawless hero who stood up for the truth. But when a frail human being dares to challenge a massive, merciless machine of absolute power, the price is rarely just glory. They often leave out the darkest chapter. They leave out the day he fell to his knees, swallowed his monumental pride, and chose to live a lie just to survive. To understand why a giant surrendered, we must first go back to the moment the fire was lit. Padua, Italy, the bitter winter of 1609. In a freezing, dimly lit room, the fire in the hearth has long burned out. A 45-year-old mathematics professor sits alone in the suffocating silence. His hands are numb. His breathing turns to white mist in the cold air. His cracked fingertips are covered in fine glass dust, the result of weeks of agonizing, sleepless labor. He isn't trying to start a theological revolution. He is just a man, obsessing over a small curved piece of glass in the dark. For centuries, humanity looked up at the night sky and saw absolute perfection. We were taught that the heavens were a flawless, divine realm. Spheres of pure crystal, completely untouched by decay, unblemished by the ugly realities of the earth. It was a beautiful, comforting illusion, a canopy of certainty over a chaotic world. But tonight, the air in this room grows heavy. Galileo Galilei slides that polished glass into a crude, hand-stitched leather tube. His hands tremble slightly from exhaustion as he lifts it to his eye. He aims it through the open window, pointing it straight at the glowing face of the moon, and in a single heartbeat, a 2,000-year-old illusion shatters. The moon is not a smooth, divine pearl. It is a rock, rough, brutal, unforgiving. Through the glass, he sees a world violently scarred, covered in jagged mountain ranges and deep, dark craters. It looks just like the imperfect earth beneath his feet. He stays by that window for hours, the biting cold tearing at his skin. In this dead silent room, a human eye sees the terrifying physical reality of the universe for the very first time in human history. He lowers the tube. He smiles. A pure, innocent spark of discovery lights up his tired eyes. But as he stands there, marveling at the stars, he doesn't know that by pulling the heavens closer, he has just placed one foot in his own grave. Because the physical truth he found tonight won't set him free. It will slowly and violently isolate him from everyone he has ever loved. The years that followed were a blinding, intoxicating blur of triumph. Europe practically fell to its knees. Kings, dukes, and emperors fought bitterly over his lenses. The powerful Medici family showered him with gold. He was no longer just a ragged mathematician shivering in a freezing room. He was a living god among the elites, untouchable, basking in the applause of his age. But all those shimmering laurel wreaths couldn't save him, because on the day he was dragged into the dark stone halls of the Inquisition, he realized a brutal truth. The glory of a genius means absolutely nothing when you are forced to choose between keeping your truth and keeping your life. To understand why a giant surrendered, we must look away from the vastness of the stars. We must look into the damp shadows of the San Mateo convent. Afar from the lavish banquets of Florence, his eldest daughter, Sister Maria Celeste, lived in extreme, punishing poverty. She was a frail nun who baked his bread, mended his frayed collars by candlelight, and wrote to him constantly. While the world saw a titan of science, she saw an aging, fragile father. She was his true gravity, the only tether keeping his soul attached to this earth. In that silent convent, the scratch of her quill echoed on coarse parchment. My dearest Lord and Father, I send you this small jar of preserved roses, hoping it brings warmth to your chest in this bitter cold. I pray to God continually that you do not overwork yourself. I beg you to rest, for your eyes are the property of the whole world. But your health, Father, your health is my entire world. It was for her, and for this fragile human connection, that his heart beat with terrifying vulnerability. Galileo was also a fiercely loyal friend. Watch him here, strolling through the lush, sunlit gardens of the Vatican. Beside him is his closest confidant, Cardinal Maffeo Barberini. Two brilliant minds. They share cups of rich wine, debate the cosmos, and dream of an enlightened age. Barberini even writes elegant poetry praising Galileo's intellect. They are brothers in spirit. It is a beautiful scene. But as we watch them laugh, a cold dread creeps down our spine, because we know something Galileo doesn't. In a few short years, this very same trusted friend will put on the papal crown and sign the order to throw him into the abyss. Lulled into a false sense of security, believing the most powerful man in the world is now his personal shield, the aging genius makes his final, fatal move. Florence, February 1632. Inside a dimly lit wooden workshop, heavy lid letters violently bite into crisp white paper. The sharp, metallic scent of fresh ink hangs heavy in the air. The dialogue is born. Galileo's aging hands tremble, not from the biting cold this time, but from pure, intoxicating triumph. He gently traces the gold-embossed leather of the very first copy. He doesn't just see a book, he sees his legacy secured. He carefully seals it with wax, addressing it to the most powerful man in Europe, who also happens to be his dearest friend, Pope Urban VIII. Galileo smiles. He is absolutely certain that under the Pope's majestic velvet cloak, the truth will finally be celebrated. But beyond the warm, comforting glow of his hearth, the book is already in motion. Out in the pitch-black night, a solitary messenger's carriage violently tears through a howling rainstorm toward Rome. The heavy wooden wheels grind deep into the mud, a rhythmic, mechanical countdown. Galileo, the undisputed master of the heavens, is fatally blind to the earth. He sits in his study, unaware that he hasn't just packaged a scientific masterpiece. He has meticulously wrapped, sealed, and delivered his own destruction. He believes his brilliant logic will enlighten the world. He forgets that logic is utterly defenseless against human ego. The storm reaches the Vatican. The silence in the papal chambers is deafening. Pope Urban VIII slowly turns the thick pages, his heavy gold ring clinking faintly against the desk. He reaches page 132, and there, the Pope stops. He reads his own deeply personal, cherished arguments about the universe. But Galileo hasn't put those words into the mouth of a wise scholar. He has stuffed them into the mouth of a character named Simplicio, the village idiot. A profound 20-year friendship shatters in the space of a single breath. The Pope's eyes harden. This is no longer a debate about the stars. It is a public, humiliating stab in the back. The monster that will crush Galileo isn't a faceless church. It is the wounded pride of a friend who trusted him. Yet, the true tragedy of history is that even a pope is a prisoner of his own empire. Surrounded by political enemies and a church terrified of losing its absolute control, friendship becomes a luxury he can no longer afford. The system is threatened, and the system demands a sacrifice. In the dead of winter, a brutal summons arrives at Galileo's doorstep. For 25 agonizing days, the wooden carriage wheels grind through the biting frost, dragging a sick, broken titan toward his ultimate reckoning. Rome, April 1633. The massive oak doors of the Inquisition slam shut, sealing a 69-year-old man inside a freezing, dimly lit chamber. The damp stone walls carry a terrifying memory. Just decades earlier, in this very city, scholars who refused to submit were dragged to the stake and burned alive for their truths. The faint, phantom smell of ash still lingers in the cold air. There are no telescopes brought into this room, no elegant debates about the stars. Instead, a single, neatly folded piece of parchment is pushed across a heavy wooden table. It is a pre-written confession, personally drafted by the very confidant whose pride he had inadvertently shattered. Galileo stares at the feather pen resting beside it. This is not a scientific puzzle. This is the ultimate agonizing human dilemma. On one side of the table, the burning stake, a glorious, defiant death. He could refuse to touch the pen, become a legendary martyr for science, and let his flesh burn for the truth. On the other side, submission, reading a lie crafted by the absolute power of his time, butchering his own life's work, destroying his monumental pride just to keep breathing. Why does a giant bow his head? Because Galileo is not a marble statue. He is a fragile father. He thinks of the freezing convent in San Mateo. He thinks of his sick daughter, Maria Celeste, who sews his clothes and waits for his letters. In that suffocating silence, a profound realization washes over him. The earth will keep spinning around the sun whether he burns to ashes or not. The universe does not need his blood to prove its math, but his daughter needs his heartbeat. And so he makes the heaviest, most courageous choice of his life. He chooses to endure the shame. He holds the parchment with shaking hands. The voice that mapped the heavens is now reduced to a hollow, suffocated whisper. I, Galileo Galilei, swear that I have always believed, and with the help of God will always believe, every article which the Holy Catholic Church holds and teaches. He chose to live. But the price of that single, desperate breath was swallowing a lifetime of humiliation. Shattering, Italy, 1634. The carriage wheels finally come to a halt. He is sent back to his country villa, placed under permanent house arrest. But the true prison is not made of stone walls. It arrives in the form of a single letter edged in black ink. Sister Maria Celeste is dead. The only light in his soul extinguishes instantly, and as if the universe demands its final, cruelest toll, the eyes that once boldly stared at the burning sun through a glass tube begin to cloud over. The vibrant colors of the world fade into a hazy gray, and then absolute suffocating darkness consumes him. He is left entirely alone, a blind, broken old man in an empty, silent house. But in that pitch-black void, a rattan chair creaks. He does not surrender. He cannot see the paper, he cannot see the ink, and he cannot see the sky. But his mind remains a blazing, untouchable furnace. Sitting in the shadows, he calls for a young student. Using only his memory, fighting through the darkness and the grief, he begins to dictate the greatest physics manuscript of his life. 2 new sciences. He whispers the laws of motion into the quiet room as the pages are secretly bundled and smuggled across the borders of Italy. It is a quiet, magnificent rebellion. The final spark of a titan executed entirely in the dark. 1642. The house in Arcetri falls completely silent. A final ragged breath escapes his lips. Today, we often look back and remember him as an indomitable monument of science, a flawless titan standing against ignorance of the absolute power. But behind that majestic name was a father who lost his child, a friend who was brutally betrayed, a blind old man who had to swallow his own tears and curse himself on the cold stone floors of the Inquisition, just to ensure the fire of human knowledge would not be extinguished. We do not honor perfect statues here. We relive their darkest hours, because their trials are the mirrors of our own. We will keep this fire burning. See you in the next trial.